hockey rink where it was very, very chilly on the roof, sitting with Ed Frankovic, our longtime Caps historian, insider, blogger, and locker roomer after Game 2, where, the mood has turned here a little bit, and certainly the Capitals have played well enough through the body of the year, through the body of the Columbus series, quite frankly, where they made it look easier in the end and made it harder on themselves, blowing 2-0 leads twice. But finally, Ed Frankovic, in Game 2, the Capitals held 2-goal and 3-goal leads and waltzed mostly to a 4-1 victory after stumbling a little bit and giving Pittsburgh an open door with some power play opportunities late in the game. By and large, like the way the Caps are playing, they're playing well enough to win a cup right now, Ed.
Yeah, this is a very even series right now, Ness, and when the Capitals don't get themselves into that rush game with Pittsburgh, they've had their way in the series. But when they've tried to play Pittsburgh's game, boy, it really is downhill for Pittsburgh, and that team can generate chances and score in a heartbeat. And that second period was holding on for dear life as Pittsburgh threw the kitchen sink at the Capitals in Game 2 on Sunday. And Braden Holtby was the story again, just stellar goaltending. And he's
by the way, that puck was in the net, right? I mean, that second goal, you and I were sitting there. Everyone said, the puck's in the net. It's 3-2. I mean, I tweeted that it was 3-2. I mean, the puck was in the net. I know Sullivan lost his mind, but probably should have lost his mind after that, right?
Well, I mean, from the one angle they kept showing on NBC, it looks like it's in the net. And but you got to remember, Toronto has all the angles, and actually, our pal Ted Starkey and I stopped to get a little bite after doing the locker room, and he was able to find the CBC feed. And when you look at the CBC feed, after Holtby kicks that puck, after Holtby comes across and makes the save, the puck is actually sitting totally on the line. So you got to remember the frontal view is two-dimensional. It's taking 3 dimensions and moving it to 2 dimensions. Now I'm getting a little geeky here with my math ways, but
how high was your math skill? Did you do calculus?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, see, I know your science background, and I know I'm about to learn something. So I'm going to sit here with my Pizza John's cup, and you're going to. So I'm a guy that really struggled with Algebra 1 and then really went off the cliff at Algebra 2. I never made it to geometry or trig. I mean, that wasn't my thing, You're a
writer.
I was a writer, yeah.
Too.
I mean, that's just more my thing. So, yeah. So go ahead and educate me about this. I love to know
Well, you remember
this
when you're looking at it on TV, on the frontal view, you're taking a 3-dimension, what's happening in 3-dimension, and then jamming it to 2 dimensions, right? So the pixels are jammed together. So it's hard to take a good look at that. The only real angle, and this is why the NHL long ago, and David Poile was one of the major pushers to get this, they made sure in every rink there's an overhead camera to look directly down on the goal line, right? Because that's the only way you're going to get the proper view, because that's looking straight down, and now you're looking
at
3-dimensional. 2 dimensions, you're looking straight down. You can't have it distorted going 3 dimensions to 2 dimensions. That view, which I saw, shows the puck clearly on the line, and then the mayhem happens afterwards with Holtby and the I guess it was Kempney coming over. So the call on the ice was no goal. And if they don't have the overhead look showing it's clearly a goal, or any look showing it's clearly a goal, they're not going to call it a goal. And I know Hornquist celebrated, and Pittsburgh, they're getting the let's be honest, Pierre Maguire used to work for the Penguins, so he's partial to them. There's no doubt there, which is fine. Just come out and say it, Pierre. And he's showing the replay to Crosby and Hornquist and Sullivan by the bench, and they're looking at the 2-dimensional view, and they see white, but that could have been snow on the goal line. It's just, you can't take a from the forward view. It's 3 dimensions going to 2 dimensions, so it's not accurate. I mean, you could do a mathematical proof to show that, but the overhead view, you never have the puck crossing the line. That's what they're looking at in Toronto, and that's why they said no goal. They didn't have a definitive view showing it was in the net. So good for Holtby for getting over there. The Penguins probably should have kept pressing, trying to put that thing in, but they went over to celebrate. So, but that would have made it 3-2 anyways. And then there's the whole was the play offside to begin with, because Hornquist doesn't get out of the zone. But you could probably say, and Trotz was asked about this after the game, would you have challenged? He did not commit one way or the other. But looking at the replay on that, it looks like it went off Kuznetsov in the zone. But I never got a really good angle on that, because if it hits Crosby to put it into the zone, then it's offsides anyways. But the bottom line is the Capitals played really well in the first period, and then in the third period, they kind of changed the momentum by slowing the game down, because that second period was a track meet, and that is just not what the Capitals want to play. The third period, they held them, I think, 6 or 7 shots, and that's how you're going to close out a lead against Pittsburgh.
Well, I mean, the first period was a real domination of effort where, I mean, it was all the Penguins had to not be down 5-1, right? Like, it was a flurry of activity. There were a lot, 35 shots in that period. So you say not to play their style, but boy, the Caps can put the puck in the net too now. You know what I mean?
They sure can.
And the Caps are dangerous for them right now.
I really like, and we talked about this after Game 1, is, okay, you get the lead. You go into that 1-3-1 or 1-2-2 where you're jamming the defensive blue line in the neutral zone. The Penguins like to take chances. They like to gamble, especially when they're behind. And you're going to get turnovers if you play smart. But if you get your 3 forwards caught low in the offensive zone, they will kill you coming out, because all it takes is one pass and they got a 3-on-2. And they did a lot of that in the second period. And Holtby played very well, and the Capitals' defenseman defended very well, because they could have gotten in a lot of trouble. And that's just, the Capitals just have to be really careful when they have the lead to make sure they keep a third forward high, because otherwise it's going to be a 3-on-2 the other way. And this team with Gensel and Kessel and Crosby and Hornquist, I mean, Sheary, on and on and on, Brassard, they have so
Malkin at some point.
Yeah, and Letang's going to jump into the play and help out. So you have to really play smart against this team. I mean, it's no secret why they've won 2 cups in a row. They have very good goaltending, and they're a very opportunistic, quick strike team. And we saw that in Game 1, that when the Capitals got out of their game and tried to play into that rush game, the Penguins will get you.
Well, we saw Orlov and Hornquist go nose-to-nose. Then we saw Hornquist and Smith-Pelly at the end, where Smith-Pelly said, "I will effing kill you," at the end of it. And, it's starting to get a little chippy. It's 1-1. It's going up to Pittsburgh. It'll get chippy up there. But, I mean, there's no intimidation level here at all. But it is a thing to behold to watch Sidney Crosby, go at the speed he's going at right now. I know after the concussions, after all the stuff that happened with him a couple years ago, there was a notion that maybe he wouldn't be at his best. And certainly Ovechkin, I think 2-3 years ago, we thought we had seen the best of him, right? Like we sort of like with Suggs, right? Like we didn't know there was going to be this last sort of surge. Hey, they're writing Flacco off in Baltimore, Ed. You know that, right? I mean, Joe's done now, right? They've drafted, the new guy that every team in the league passed on, by the way, but he's going to come and save the franchise now. He'd be expected to save the franchise and to save Harbaugh's job and all that stuff. Don't write these guys off, especially these guys who are champions like Flacco and guys like Sidney Crosby. Ovechkin is not a champion, and that's what powers him at this point. But Ovechkin and Crosby for the league, and they're going to get a Game 5 on Saturday. I can assure you they're going to get a Game 6 next Monday. I don't know if they're going to get a 7. They probably will, right? But, you're seeing a lot of skill on the ice right now, and you're seeing healthy, motivated, inspired. There's a lot of revenge. There's a lot of want from the Penguins. There's a whole lot of want from the Capitals. From your perspective and my perspective, even our relationship with Barry Trotz, this is his last go-round, right? Like, we would be in a state of shock if he's coaching this team if they lose this series in 6 or 7 games, right?
Yeah, that's for sure. And Crosby, the guy's just incredible. I mean, I wouldn't think he would be better than he was 3 or 4 years ago, but I actually think he is. And just his hockey sense and awareness on the ice is...
He feels like Gretzky.
Gretzky-like.
He feels like Gretzky out there to me. Like, I can't take my eyes off him. I mean, I'm literally like... And I wasn't... And I promise you this, Ed, I went to every game last year, right? I went to all 7 games last year from Washington to Pittsburgh and back. I never was mesmerized by him during the series. I found myself Game 1 and then in this game... always watching him. It's a new little game I'm playing with him while we're in the series with him. It's just watch where he is. Because if he's neutralized, the Caps are going to win this series.
Yeah, he has feasted off of Evgeny Kuznetsov when Kuznetsov's on the ice. And that goal that was not the no goal or a goal, whatever the heck you think it was. That's a big mistake by Evgeny Kuznetsov in the neutral zone there. He has to be aware of where Sidney Crosby is. And the big tactical switch that we saw in Game 2 by Coach Barry Trotz was Nicholas Backstrom line was on against Crosby's line, Crosby, Gensel, and Hornquist all game. Whenever they could get the matchup, that was what was happening. And that's the advantage of home ice. And had Trotzy done that in game one, maybe the Caps are up 2-0. We will never know. But in Pittsburgh, the script flips because now Mike Sullivan has the advantage, and that's where a Lars Eller's line is going to have to be a lot better. They're going to have to play a lot more minutes. Kuznetsov's going to have to be a lot stronger on the puck. I have not been happy with his first two games. I don't think he's played very well. I think he's been very loose, and the example of that is the play he makes with 10 minutes left in the game that ends up in that controversial goal, no goal. I mean, that's just a terrible play in the neutral zone. You have to make sure you control the puck there. Ovechkin, again, his defensive zone has been lacking. The second period, he had several opportunities to get the puck out when Penguins were pressing late, and he doesn't get it out. Thank goodness Holtby gets a piece of one of the shots from Letang, and it just trickles wide. So that top line, I like the way Tom Wilson is playing, but Kuznetsov and Ovechkin have got to be a lot better if they're going to win in Pittsburgh. You can always count on Nicholas Backstrom. He is as good a two-way center as there is. He was in Sidney Crosby's jersey all game when they were on the ice. Sid didn't do a whole lot when Nicky was on the ice, and when Sullivan was able to get him away from Backstrom, that's when you saw Sid make some plays. So he's an incredible player, and this kid Jake Gensel from Omaha, Nebraska, is just incredible. He has amazing hands. He seems to find openings on the ice. He's got a great shot.
Only scored 4 against the Flyers, that's all.
Yeah, and with Hornquist crashing the net, I mean, that's as good a line as there is in the National Hockey League. It's probably the best line in the National Hockey League. And, I expect Evgeny Malkin to be back for Game 3. The question is, how good is his knee? And on the Capitals side of the house, you got to be worried about T.J. Oshie, who messed his hand up blocking a shot. We didn't get any type of information on him, but that didn't look good because he can only clear the zone with his left hand on the stick. And of course, Brian Dumoulin had the injury, avoiding an Ovechkin hit and smashing his head into Wilson's shoulder pad. So a lot of attrition, as you'd like to say. And that's what these playoffs become about, like who can handle the injuries and manage to get the bounces. And the Capitals got the bounces in Game 2, where the Penguins got the bounces in Game 1. And I think rightly so. I think both teams earned those bounces in each of the games.
When Kuznetsov has a horrible game, though, at this point in his career, we kind of expect that, right? He's a little bit like a pitcher that can go out there and stink once in a while. And it doesn't happen a lot. It's not Jimenez bad or like Tillman the other night coming to save the day all of a sudden. He's got that in him for sure, but he's more good than bad. But he can stink it up on a given night, right? Literally. I mean, and we've seen that's probably his cross to bear, is that if he stinks it up on the wrong night, he'll cost you a playoff game. Yeah,
I mean, all season long, you and I have talked about the Capitals go as he goes. They were able to overcome his poor Game 2. He did some things offensively that were well, but the key to the game against Pittsburgh is neutral zone and defensive zone and making sure you're in the proper positions. And he's probably going to have to go up against Crosby or Malkin in Game 3. He's going to have to be a lot better. He has to be more responsible with the puck. He has to make smart decisions out there. And Tom Wilson as well. Tom Wilson has had a propensity to throw the puck, force the puck to Ovechkin, and Tom Wilson, especially in the offensive zone. How many times did you and I, sitting together during the game, said, why is Wilson going there with the puck? And in fact, early on, he throws it there, and then Kuznetsov takes that tripping penalty. I mean, those are the kind of plays that will get you beat against Pittsburgh. It's so important to go north-south, and that's what I liked about Lars Eller with Connolly and Devontae Smith-Pelly. That line is really playing well right now, and they're playing a north-south type of game. Smith-Pelly makes that net drive in the second period, gets hauled down. I'm not sure how that wasn't a penalty, so you could beef about calls both ways in this one today, but at the end of the day, the Capitals were the ones who earned this victory, much like I thought Pittsburgh earned Game 1.
Game 2 victory goes to the Caps, a 4-1 win. Goals by Ovechkin very early to get the party started. Then Verano on the power play. Big first period for the Caps and a lot of shots. Things started to turn a little bit in the second period. The Caps got a 3-0 lead at Brett Connolly with an assist from Lars Eller, and then it turned. Then Letang scored, and really on the third period, for the most part, on their heels. The Penguins thought they had a second goal that Eddie and I have discussed, did not get that goal, never got that goal, quite frankly. And now we'll turn our attention back to Pittsburgh for Game 3. With the ins and out in the Steel City, I am not going to Pittsburgh. I'm going to chill out, and we're going to have a little viewing party on Tuesday night as well. I'm going to be releasing some information about that a little later on out on our Facebook and our Twitter as well. So I'm going to do something out on Game 3, not on Game 4, however. I'll be at Jackson Brown for the Modell Lyric, and our partners there. That is Jackson Brown playing there on Thursday night. Don't forget, lots of shows coming up down there. William Shatner's going to be there a little later on in the month as well. Go to modell-lyric.com. Learn about their calendar and all the things that are going on. Steely Dan coming October 11th. Kansas showing up in November. So a big, big summer and certainly a big fall at the Modell Lyric. Don't forget the Baltimore Brigade. I was down there on Saturday. I had a good time on Saturday. Brigade snuck out a victory. They score a lot of touchdowns. That dude, Randy Hipper, can throw the football. I'll tell you that right now. So if you get an opportunity to come down and see some indoor football, AFL, check it out. Friday night, the Philadelphia Soul coming to town. There's a rumor Ron Jaworski and I are going to be get together talking about some AFL, as well as Joe Flacco and all the Lamar Jackson and all the Hayden Hurst and all the Weekend and Zeus Jr. and all that stuff. We'll be talking about that, but we're doing a little bit of hockey right now. It's all brought to you by our friends at Howard Bank, a relentless commitment to being the best at everything they do. Branches throughout Baltimore and Maryland. Every person at Howard Bank empowered to help you. Learn more at howardbank.com. Hey, Royal Farms, real fresh, real fast. I picked up the 3-piece last week. I go for the breast, 2 wings, the fries, and the roll. I dig that you get a roll. That's a 3-piece. I go in, I do the little fill it out, I swipe my card, I get my points, I pump my gas. If you see a guy that looks like me at Key Highway, that's me. Fresh brewed hot coffee as well. Colombian, Brazilian, dark roast, Jamaican Blue Mountain, French vanilla. I'm a Kona Blend guy myself. The breakfast sandwiches and the Western fries, all at Rofo, real fresh, real fast. Make sure you're downloading that app and using that and scoring the points. Ed Frankovic and I are hopefully scoring some points. Cautiously optimistic's the thing I've been saying. You've been having fun with me, using that term. I'll continue to use that term. And as it turns back to Pittsburgh at 1-1, and I was never myopic in believing it would be 2-0, right? And I know Game 1 did not go the direction that we wanted it to go, but they're playing good hockey, Ed. They're not getting blown out. They're up to, if anything, every game they've lost, they've blown. They've blown 2-0 leads in all of these games. That's defense, that's goaltending, that's sticking to it, that's playing differently, as we've pointed out, with a lead than without a lead. Playing differently at home than playing on the road as well. They've been pretty good on the road. I want to see how they respond in Pittsburgh. And quite frankly, if they come back Saturday night and they're down 3-1, shame on them and they're going home,
Yeah, they can't go down 3-1 Ness again. And one of the interesting things in Game 2 is that you look at the first 3 goals the Capitals scored. The last one was an empty net. They all came over the glove of Matt Murray. And Brett Connolly was asked about that after the game. Have you guys found something? Actually, twice while I was standing there talking to him by 2 different reporters. Have you guys found something in Matt Murray's glove? And Connolly he says, if you're a right-handed shot, think about it. It's easier for you to shoot that way. And if you think about it, most of the goals, I guess, Verana's a lefty, but the other 2, Ovechkin and Connolly, are shooting there. But Murray definitely does have a little bit of a weakness there on that glove side. There's no doubt about it. He is stellar when it comes to the blocker side. He made an unbelievable save on Ovechkin. You and I still couldn't believe how he made that save, but he managed to get the paddle of his stick on it. Ovechkin would have made it 3-0 there late in the first period. But the Matt Murray glove thing, I think, is a thing to watch. And he definitely didn't have his best game in Game 2. Holtby did. And it was the reverse in Game 1. Well, although I thought Holtby played dynamite for 2 periods in Game 1, and then you can argue about whether he should have had some of those, whether they were defensive breakdowns. But the goaltending is so important in the playoffs, and Braden Holtby was definitely dominant in Game 2. While Murray, he seems to be struggling. So we'll see what happens if that gets in his head. The bad glove hand ultimately did Philip Grubauer in. That's why he's sitting on the bench, and Braden Holtby came in and seized the moment. So that's something to watch. Are the Capitals going to continue to pick that corner? Ovechkin certainly has 2 goals going right over his glove in this series.
He is Ed Frankovic. You can follow his journey at Ed Frankovic. That's Frankovic out on Twitter. Has been doing a Caps thing for over 3 decades with me now. And we're inching closer to the magic moment where they're either going to beat Pittsburgh or lose again, right? Like, this is where the sphincters get a little tighter and all of that. And you spent an inordinate amount of time on Sunday afternoon yelling about Nick Backstrom. You love Nick Backstrom, and you feel like he needs to be out there in certain circumstances, certainly 4-on-4, and you really hate Ovechkin back on that power play as well, back on the point.
I did not like him on there in the last 5 minutes with a 2-goal lead, Ness, because I felt like at that point the only way Pittsburgh was going to score and get back in it was with a shorthanded break, and Ovi has a tendency to think goal, and 5 minutes left on the power play. It's nice to score a goal, but the last thing you want to do is give the other team an opportunity. You want to take a full 2 minutes off the clock, and they didn't do it there. So I like Ovi when it's tied or they're behind or it's earlier in the game on the point because he changes the dynamic. But when it's late in the game and Pittsburgh's going to cheat, especially with their fast forwards, I really would like to see just a Carlson and Orlov on the point there, or Niskanen. Something just to make sure you got two defensemen back because. Defending is not Ovechkin's strength. He is not very good on the boards. He's gotten better, certainly at 5-on-5 with his back checking and coming back and hustling back on defense. He's improved a ton there. But when it comes to playing defense on the point on the power play or playing defense when the puck's trapped in the zone, that's his weakness.
And he doesn't have the speed to make up
with him out there.
Not against a fast team. A guy like Letang gets a step on him, it's over, right?
Exactly, or Sheary, one of these guys, if he's caught. And to your point on Backstrom, yeah, I think Nicholas Backstrom is good a center as there is. He definitely had Crosby off his game when he was out there. I mean, he's the only guy that can really neutralize Crosby. I think Eller has a better chance than Kuznetsov of playing Crosby because he's just better defensively. So it's really going to be important to watch the matchups. I know Barry Trotz would love to have Backstrom out there against Crosby, but Mike Sullivan's going to have the last change, and he's going to be able to get his matchups that he wants. So the Capitals are really going to have to defend well. They're really going to have to be strong on the back end, and they're going to have to get great goaltending again if they're going to steal a win up in Pittsburgh.
Well, here we go again, and the league gets what it loves, right, which is the post-Kentucky Derby lead-in, right, to Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin on Saturday night for Game 5, one way or another. We should hope that it's rubber at that point, right? Like, I don't harbor any thoughts they're coming back 3-1 up, but I think it's possible. I think anything's possible. I think they can win 3 more games in a row the way they did against Columbus. I think they're good enough on any night to win, and they have, and I remember going up there for Game 6 last year, Ed, with Coach Tomlin, and they stunk that night. The Penguins stunk. I haven't seen the Capitals stink yet here in the postseason, and for me, that's a good sign, and maybe at some point they will stink and they'll lose 4-1, and the Penguins didn't stink on Sunday, but the Capitals have been the better team through 2 games.
Yeah, if you add up the play, the periods, I think the Capitals are probably ahead 4-2, although you can make some arguments about some of the first game, maybe more Pittsburgh's way, but the Capitals certainly were better for 2 of the 3 periods in Game 2 and deserved the victory. Again, it's just playing the right way. It's north-south. It's not forcing the puck to the middle of the ice. Not careless turnovers like Kuznetsov made that on the would-be second goal that Pittsburgh is still complaining about. And those are the type of plays that'll get you in trouble against Pittsburgh because guys like Crosby and Gensel, they'll just pounce. And it's going to be really interesting to see if Malkin comes back for Game 3 and how that knee is. The Penguins had the luxury of sitting him in Game 2 because they had already wrestled home ice away with the big win for them in Game 1.
You have a theory about that, too. You like a guy playing hurt in the playoffs better than not playing.
Yeah, I would rather Malkin be out there on a bad knee for the Caps because what happens otherwise is Crosby gets more ice time, and we see what Sidney Crosby can do, and he's just dominant, and he just rise, and other guys step up and rise to the occasion. I'd much rather have their full team out there, and let's have Malkin playing because I don't think even if he does play, I don't think he's anywhere near 100% based on the injury I saw he took in Philly and how long he's been out.
Well, you better be worried about Oshie based on the way we saw that happen. Malkin out. We had guys hitting the ice. The series is getting rough, not necessarily from a fight perspective, and not even really from a scrum perspective. It hasn't been nearly as chippy after the whistle as we've seen in the past, for sure. But it's still early. But the injuries are starting to happen.
Yeah, the Capitals have to really be careful about the after the whistle stuff because they tend to lose those scrums when it comes to the officiate, like Wilson getting the call against Columbus, and
they love blowing a whistle on him.
And then, Foligno does the same thing in Columbus, and they don't get the call. So,
Smith-Pelly losing his mind at the end of a game, right?
The last thing I want to see is 4-on-4. I mean, as soon as that went 4-on-4 with Orlov and Hornquist, first thing I said to you is, I hope they call this double minors on both, because the Capitals are not very good in 4-on-4. And sure enough, that's what helped Pittsburgh turn the game, get back into the game a little bit on Sunday afternoon.
Well, I mean, 2-goal game. I mean, whatever Hornquist was doing to get under Smith-Pelly's, gloves, I would say. The chipping and the yelling and all. I don't know. I mean, you're up. Don't lose your head. You're up 2 goals. Don't do anything stupid.
Right, and they're gonna.
Series
it's gonna be 2 days of whining coming out of Pittsburgh's camp. It's what they do, and they're going to be complaining and watching Sunday night's Nashville Winnipeg game. The second period covered the goal, and it was all slanted towards, it should have been a goal for Pittsburgh. They never showed the overhead angle, but I've come to expect that from what I call Penn, DC.
All right, man, rest up, buckle up. You're going to Pittsburgh. I'm not going to Pittsburgh. I'm staying here. I'm going to be out and about on Tuesday night watching Game 3. I'll throw some notes up on social media. If you follow along, you can find Ed out on Twitter. He is Ed Frankovic, as well as Ed at WNST.net. He's also on our website all the time with Caps updates and out on Twitter all the time, as well as the team now goes to Pittsburgh. He'll join us again in 48 hours. Doesn't take long. We turn these things around. It's all brought to you by our friends at Pizza John's. Get down the back River Neck Road. PizzaJohns.com gives you the menu, all the great stuff. I still have not had the ravioli at Pizza John's, but I'm going to do that. When I go to Pizza John's, I'm crazy. I order the pizza because I love it, and that's what I get when I go there. So I have had cheesesteaks. I have had meatball subs. I've had the pasta on weird occasions, but not recently. But I've never had the ravioli. I'm going to get half cheese, half meat. Next time I'm in, that's what I'm doing. Pizza John's. I'll give you the phone number, too, 410-687-7733. But you know where it is. 50 years they've been doing it down there. And if you've never been, come on. What are you waiting for? Get down to Essex and see our friends at Pizza John's. All of our WNST Be More Positive series programming brought to you not only by Howard Bank, their relentless commitment to being the best at everything they do, but also our friends at Cole Roofing. Billy Cole's going to be here this week. Everyone wants to talk about Lamar Jackson and Hayden Hurst and the Ravens, and Ozzy's a genius all of a sudden again. It's incredible. And we're going to win 13 games again. I think it's awesome. I love all the prosperity and all this happy talk. It fits more into my motif. Bill Cole will be here to do all that and more. We all felt those March winds blowing and the April rain. It's now May. Come on now. Don't let it goof on your roof. If you have a commercial roof space, corporate roof space, a big space, get it looked at, get it observed, make sure that it made it through the winter okay. It was a particularly harsh winter for roofs. Roofs or roofs? Roofs. I should call them roofs. That'd be funnier, like John Wayne. Cole Roofing. They've been around longer than John Wayne. 99 years they've been doing it. ColeRoofing.com and Pfister Energy. You can learn more there as well. Big shout out to my pal Chad down at Al's Seafood in Essex. I made a new commercial with Chad. Chad knows more about crabs than anybody I know. He loves talking about crabs. So and teaching me about crabs. So we're gonna have an educational series here with Al's Seafood and Chad the Crab Man. The oldest crab house in Essex, in Baltimore. Still in Essex. Stemmer's Run at the foot of 702. I've been going there since I want to say since 76 or 77, but they've been there since 74. But they've actually been around since the 40s. Al's Seafood in Essex. Chad the Crab Man. Listen out for him in our new commercials. We're going to have some fun around here. Give the King a ring. King Discount Liquors, lottery, beer, booze, and the best prices in Baltimore. I know that because the Malbec that I buy is $18.99 other places. $11.99 at King Discount Liquors. And that's not my price. That's not a special thing because I'm in the commercials. And anybody can get that deal. Go see Paul King. Pulaski Highway, give the King a ring. A lot of hockey, but we're going almost all football this week. I'm going almost all draft. The guests that we have coming up this week, and you're going to be able to find them all out in the buyatoyota.com audio vault. Ron Jaworski's going to be with us this week. Eric Edholm, Will Graves up in Pittsburgh. Jason Cole's going to be here. Chris Redmond from Louisville is going to be here. Andy Benoit from Sports Illustrated is going to stop by and join us as well. And we're going to be doing a little bit of hockey later in the week. Oh, by the way, huge interview this week. Desmond Child. He's only written every song in the world from Bon Jovi to Kiss and country music and everywhere back and forth, Joan Jett. Desmond Child is going to be talking to me this week. Pinch me. I'm lucky. Nasty at WNST.net, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook, as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel, and taking the night off on Thursday so I can go see Jackson Brown down at the Modell Lyric. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.